All right. All right. Got the thumbs up. Okay. All right. It's 6:06 p.m. September 20. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Hopefully everyone received my agenda this morning. I emailed it. Lady Teresa, did you receive? Have a chance to go over it?
I have.
Okay, so it's a very short agenda. Um, Nothing excessive on there. We do have a few items that we will have to discuss in detail in our executive session. So let's get right to it. I didn't hear anything back from Linda Kelly regarding public comments. So I'm going to assume no one signed up to assume to come to this meeting today. No one from the public. So let's move on. And present with us today we have Miss Lady Ramos, uh, Miss Teresa Twine, Dr. Teresa Twine, correct myself, Shane McFarlane, and with us is our solicitor, Mr. X Smith Esquire. Again, no members of the public. This next item is our administrative items. We do not have any meetings to approve from our last minute. Our last meeting, believe it or not, was in March 26th to be exact. That's a long time, and that's a good and a bad thing. But that, sometimes when it takes that long for us to have meetings, we tend to lose touch with the number of administrative things that we have to cover. And we have to constantly go over them to remind ourselves that we have issues to resolve. Um, Nonetheless, I'll move on to our right to know requests before I jump into education items. Eric, is there any right to know requests?
There are none.
Okay, no right to know requests. We move right into education initiatives. Our tip of the month. Let me be the first to say tip of the month was going good for the first 3 months. And then for the last 3 months, I haven't been able to receive to release any tip of the month newsletter. And I must apologize to the public for that. We've been extremely busy with various issues to cover. So I haven't been able to get it done. And even though it's only once per month, believe me, it's been probably the busiest time of my life. I can speak for myself personally. It's been an extremely busy period for me. So I haven't been able, and I apologize again. I simply haven't been able to issue a tip of the month newsletter for the past 3 months. However, I promise that the first week of October, the first Tuesday of October, I will have a tip of the month newsletter release, and we'll continue that um, for the foreseeable future. Uh, to just to branch off that for a second, we've been extremely busy, and one of the issues we've been having for the past year or is that we've been short-handed, understaffed, however you want to put it, and that has crippled us to some extent. Again, if we were full staffed, it would still be tough to get everything done, given that we're all going through COVID, we're all going through difficult times, various issues to cover personally and with everything that we have going on otherwise. But we are short-handed, and I did have the opportunity to speak with a lady over the weekend about possibly nominating her as secretary of the charter board. She was receptive to the idea. But I do think before we go into more details and even nominate her, I should have more conversations with her about it, so we can have her roles defined clearly. One of the reasons I wanted to have Lady become a secretary is because, you know, the charter permits the board to be fully staffed, and that includes a secretary. However, given the current economic climate in the city, I think it's not feasible. It's not a feasible idea for us to be, you know, staffed with a secretary. So we have to continue to find ways to not overburden the city financially. So this is one way in which we can stop that from happening, and at the same time keep a functional board. So again, we're in the early phases of talking about it. I know Lady is receptive to the idea, but I do want to clearly define her role, so she isn't overburdened herself. So maybe in our next meeting, I will nominate her, and hopefully Teresa gives a thumbs up. Okay. So the next item would be the annotated chart. Before I move on, Lady Teresa, do you have any comments regarding the secretary and even the tip of the month newsletter? Any comments, questions, concerns?
I'm good.
No problems.
All right, with that, before we move on, I also want to say we have to continue to recruit. I've been it's very tough. It's very tough to find qualified people and persons who are willing, not only qualified but also willing to undertake this task. It is tough, and nonetheless, we have to continue. We have to continue to push to get more persons to fill the other seats. So I would urge you, Teresa and Lady, to do whatever you can, and even Eric, to do whatever you can to seek out qualified persons to fill the extra positions on the board. All right, the annotated charter. This is something that myself and Eric are passionate about, especially Eric. And we've had multiple conversations about when we should start, or should I say restart the annotated charter. And I do know Eric is somewhat eager to have it done, because it would be helpful for himself. It would be an extremely helpful tool for the administration and council. I know a lot of persons may not be able to envision how helpful this would be, but I guarantee if you should have conversations with Eric about it, you would get a better idea of how important this is, not only to him, but to the board and the administration. And it would be a great tool, as previously mentioned, to City Council as well. But I do think that we need to clean up a few administrative things before we give Eric the thumbs up to continue. And I'm looking towards, it's not good to set a timeline, but I'm looking towards early next year to say, Eric, go ahead. So guys, just keep that in mind, that the annotated charter is one of our educational tools, and we need to get this going as soon as possible. The next item on the agenda is advisory opinions. As far as I know, there are none, but I'm going to have Eric confirm that. Eric.
Yeah, there have been no requests for advisory opinions. No formal request for advisory opinions. The investigative officer, in his decision with respect to investigation number 58, stated that he thought it would be helpful if the board would issue an advisory opinion, but there's been no traditional request for an advisory opinion.
Thank you. All right. That leads us into, I believe, enforcement. Investigation 54, the appeal on investigation 54, I believe, which is in front of the court, I believe, is wrapping up. I'm going to allow Eric to elaborate on that. I'm not sure if you want to do so in executive session, or if you want to go ahead and just give us a briefing on what's going on with that.
With respect to investigation 54, I can just give you a brief update. That does not need to be an executive session. It's just the court's status is that the court did have arguments scheduled for investigation 54, but issued an order directing. In fact, argument was supposed to be today at 1 o'clock, but issued an order a few weeks back that it would hear the matter just on the briefs. And I did send an email around, which if we want to discuss, I would want it to be an executive session concerning my thoughts about why that might be and what possible results might be.
Okay, we'll take that into executive session shortly. As it pertains to investigation 54, is there anything you want to brief us on before we go into executive session?
No, just that it 54 or 58, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, 58.
58.
Yeah.
The one item that I think should that we can talk about publicly is that the investigative officer did issue a findings report of sorts, and within the findings report, the investigative officer the findings report contained language dismissing the complaint. So I think anything further on that is attorney-client privileged and should be the subject of a executive session.
Okay, so we're going to go into executive session at 6:18 p.m.
And for the record, I'm going to pause recording now. We are back on the recording record.
Okay, great. We just had an interesting executive session. We're back from executive session at 6:36. We went in at 6:18 p.m. All right, so at this point we have, and I think my background is a little bit noisy. My apologies. Neighbors are outside playing. Eric, is there anything funky going on with the recording? Is it fine? You did see something just pop up. Are we fine? Before I move ahead, we're good. Okay.
I feel recording's fine.
Okay, great. All right. So we have official action to take on one item. At this point, I would like, before I ask for a motion, I would like Eric to go ahead and read what we need to take action on.
Sure. I also wanted to point out that our executive session, to state the reason, was for an attorney-client privileged discussion about strategy involving pending litigation.
Thank you.
I would recommend to the board to the form of a motion to reverse, for the board to reverse the investigative officer's determination in investigation number 58 that dismissed the complaint and to reinstate the complaint. And for the reason for that would be to correct what the board perceives to be a procedural error by the investigative officer.
Thank you, Eric. Motion from Teresa Lady.
Aye.
Teresa. I think you're on mute.
Okay, I agree with the motion. Was there a motion? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Teresa. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty.
Okay, I make a motion that we, what were we doing? I forgot.
I think Eric just read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just need yes from you, yes from Teresa,
Yes.
yes from
I agree.
lady is a yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Twine is a yes, and for me, it is a yes. And before we move ahead, let me just say, Teresa, if you may mute for a second.
Mute or unmute?
I think Teresa is on mute.
So you want me to second the motion?
No, we're good. We're fine.
Okay.
So for me, again, it's a yes. And the motion passed. But let me just say this for public disclosure, that this action that we're taking is not taken lightly. I believe, as Eric stated, that there were multiple errors in the investigation. So at this point, we have to take corrective action to reverse the dismissal of the complaint, only that section. So this action, I must say, may or may not change the outcome, but we must set a good precedent as it relates to our procedures, our procedure for doing investigations. So again, we must make this decision to take corrective action. All right. With that said, I believe our
Shane,
next meeting. Yeah, go
If I
ahead.
could just wanted to clarify one thing, just because of the public explanation there is the procedure. I don't think that the board is questioning the procedure of the investigation itself, but that the board identified an error in the procedure with respect to the findings report and what was contained in it. Just because I think I wouldn't want the public to perceive that there was going to be a new investigation.
Right. Am I muted? What's going on here? Oh, I'm unmuted. Sorry. We're having a little bit of technical issue, but I'm glad you said that, Eric, because I didn't want to prolong this discussion simply because it's a legal issue. So I'm glad you made that disclosure and not me, because I probably would have said something there. All right. So I think with that said, may I have a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else to be said from Lady and Teresa and Eric? If there's nothing else to be said, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion it. Okay. Crossing each other here. Okay, you made the motion to adjourn, and I second.
All right, thank you, ladies. So be it. Our next meeting will be announced soon. And before I go, Eric, is there anything else you want to say real quickly? Seemed like you had something else to say.
I was just going to say that for the public record, that you should recognize that there's no members of the public that are on the Zoom call right now, which is why there's no public comment.
Oh, I think I did mention that in our opening, but
Earlier,
yeah.
yes, I went now at the.
Thank you. Thank you for reiterating that. All right. So I want to say one thing before I go. It is very, very important for us to schedule these meetings at least a week ahead. There's a lot of reasons why, and which I'll not expound on, but it's very important for us to get these done. So let's respond to our emails, lady. I'm just messing with you, eh? Let's respond to our emails as soon as possible so we can have our next meeting scheduled. Guys, it was nice seeing you again, and hopefully we'll see each other soon. Eric?
Thank you, everybody. I will now stop the recording.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.